Good morning, everyone. I'm burnt to a crisp, but we are very excited to be here at Lava Beds National Monument in very northern California, close to the Oregon border. We didn't even know we were coming here until this morning, but the place looks so cool. There's something like 25 caves to explore here. We're just gonna pick out about like 5 of them and then do a couple above ground hikes as well. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Over the last 500,000 years, volcanic eruptions have created a rugged landscape dotted with diverse features up in this extremely remote part of California. This is thanks to the Medicine Lake Shield volcano, which is actually the largest volcano by area in the Cascade Mountain Range spanning California to British Columbia, Canada. Lava Beds National Monument was established as such in 1925 and covers 46,692 acres of land. It wasn't until the last second when we realized we'd be passing right on by going from Lake Tahoe to Crater Lake, so we dedicated a few hours to exploring the park, and I'm so glad we did. Due to our limited time at Lava Beds, this will be a relatively short video, but without further ado, let's delve in. We begin at the Lava Beds Visitor Center, where you'll have to get yourself a caving permit before entering any cave in the park. These are free, but you'll be asked a handful of questions relating to your past experiences in caves, such as whether or not you're wearing the same clothes or shoes. From the Visitor Center, there's a short trail that takes you to your first couple of caves, but we just picked one in this area and made it the Mushpot Cave. Mushpot is the easiest, most accessible cave in the park to traverse, with the only difficulty for some people being the entrance stairway. Once you've made it down the steep metal steps, you'll be greeted by a lit pathway, the only cave in the park to feature one, along with interpretive signs explaining certain formations. All around, Mushpot Cave isn't one of the more interesting interiors, but I did enjoy the lava dripstone covering the walls. The Mushpot Cave was such a cool introduction to the park. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was really cool. Nice beginner cave. I like how the path's all lit up too. Just a really unique spot.
So, the majority of Lava Beds caves can be found along a one-way loop road, appropriately named Cave Loop Road. You'll want to make sure you plan which caves you want to visit and order them appropriately, as they vary drastically in difficulty, and it can be inconvenient to get from one to the next. I tell you this because we underprepared, hitting the southernmost cave on the road first, then having to backtrack since we didn't realize we'd passed one of the caves on our list. Though to be fair, it did work out in the end, as the Sunshine Cave was likely the next step up in difficulty from Mushpot. Following a much more defined cave entrance and a reminiscent stairway, you'll be walking along a narrow path through rocks and boulders. Although the Sunshine Cave isn't lit up, you won't need much of any assistance to see in this one due to it being one of the few caves to have openings that let in sunlight. And these openings can be quite large, making this the best example of a cave like it in the park. Easily my favorite part of this entire thing was the beam of light that had presented itself due to the dust that had been left behind from us walking by. Evan got this shot on his phone that I think demonstrates how cool this looked in person. I'd never seen anything like it before. The Sunshine Cave also had the first examples of these elevated metal walkways with railings, which become a frequent occurrence at Lava Beds National Monument. I love how these caves not only are self-guided, but have such interesting trail design 9 out of 10 times.
Sunshine Cave blew us away. I can't believe this place. This is so much cooler than the last one. And for this one, it was okay. I'm not sure about the others, but we were able to just use a phone flashlight and have no problem in this one.
It also wasn't that claustrophobic either, which was good. So like, it's very doable, very easy cave.
Since it was basically right across the street, we made a quick stop at Natural Bridge up next, which is a short walk to a section of lava tube roof that remains standing between collapsed trenches. Though it was super small and not particularly impressive, I thought the material it was composed of was pretty cool. Then we swung around to the Golden Dome Cave, thinking we were ready for something much more treacherous. But even putting that aside, I'm glad we stopped off here since it had easily my favorite entrance thus far. It was this teeny little passage that had a ridiculously steep staircase going through it, almost as if it were a ladder. Then we proceeded for just a few minutes before turning around because we realized this was more so for experienced cavers. You're walking on uneven rocks a majority of the time, so it was quite uncomfortable to traverse, plus it were a bit too dark to experience without a real flashlight. But the highlight no doubt were the ceilings, which had a unique yellowish gold sparkle to it from the bacteria that comes from light reflecting off of water in the cave.
The Golden Domes Cave was really cool. We were able to make it to, that gold kind of glitter that you see on the ceilings here. That being said, with the phone flashlights, we were not about to go any further than that. I have heard there's an actual golden dome formation, whatever that means, but we'll have to save that for another time.
Now, there are a few caves at Lava Beds that are not situated along the loop road, and they're definitely some of the best, so you'll want to make your way north towards the distant Cinder Cone. There actually is a trail that takes you to the summit of that formation, and I'd heard that was pretty cool, but at the end of our visit, there were some nasty storms coming in that prevented us from experiencing it. Ultimately, I'm glad we prioritized the caves though. These last two were epic. Merrill Cave is considered one of the least challenging to navigate in the first half, with more gradual steps than usual due to the wider, open ceiling cave entrance. But you do have to be careful not to hit your head in this one. Evan was not so lucky. For the longest time, Merrill Cave was known for the year-round pool of ice down in the lower chamber, but that fully disappeared by 2005. So in terms of cool formations and features, this one isn't anything special today. But the reason I still think it's a must visit is because of the interactive trail design in the second half. There are several genuine ladders that take you to the lower parts of the cave, which make Merrill Cave feel more intimate than many of the others. It's also quite dark, but I found that a phone flashlight was good enough in this one.
Merrill Cave may as well have been my favorite so far. The interactivity with that, with the stairs and ladders, was awesome. Evan hit his head pretty hard.
Yeah, but oh well, it was still really cool. I really enjoyed it in there. It's also super cold, which is unique.
Lastly, we headed over to the Skull Cave, and unbeknownst to us, we had saved the best for last. It is also the most visited cave at Lava Beds, which is easy to understand once you see it for yourself. The entrance and interior of Skull Cave is enormous, but the irony is it isn't close to being one of the longer ones, so it's actually a great way to ease into the other caves if you're inexperienced. In the second half, it does narrow in a bit as you traverse more of those steep stairways, including these 2 consecutive ones that are in a very dark portion of the cave. Fortunately, there were lots of other people to light it up for us, so it wasn't much of a problem. All in all, if you can only experience one thing at Lava Beds National Monument, let it be this. It is one of the coolest self-guided caves I've ever seen.
We're so wiped out, we almost skipped Skull Cave. I can't believe that. This is amazing. I love this so much. It's easily the best cave here.
Yeah, definitely the best cave. Just the scale of it and how huge it is. A lot of the other caves are very small, and this one's definitely like ginormous. And so it's definitely probably the highlight of the whole park, I would say.
Thank you all so much for tuning into this shorter video, and we'll see you guys up next from Crater Lake National Park in Oregon. Peace out, guys.